Hi, Year 10. So this week we are going to complete our page on the impact on culture and society. So can you turn to this page in your booklet and write down the learning objective, which is I will learn how different values, beliefs and customs impact the decisions made by designers. Pause the video here and write down your learning objective. Fantastic. So our key word for today is culture, and a simple definition for culture is that it is the values, beliefs, customs and behaviours used by groups and societies to interact with each other and the world. But why are we talking about this? So for us as designers, culture is a huge factor that changes design decisions made by different designers, different companies, different manufacturers. In order to sell as many products, they need to take into account the different beliefs and traditions and religious beliefs that are present in our culture. So in order to make the most money, they need to be able to design things that appeal to the widest possible market, and that's why we're talking about it today. So we've got these images. We've got some Doc Martens, some Kickers. We've got a fashion show, a Motorola flip phone, which was like really popular back in the day. These LED strip lights and Crocs. What do you think these all have in common? Why do you think we're talking about this? Okay, so if you said anything to do with fashion trends or trends in general, you were correct. So fashion trends are a huge factor that influences designers when they're designing and making products. So increasingly, designers are challenged to keep up to date with current fashion trends. So in order to be able to be popular and to sell loads of products, companies need to be able to design and make products super quick in order to keep up to date with current fashion and trends across products. It even goes so far as they need to be able to accurately predict what the next trend is going to be, or try and create a new trend so that they can be the front runner and the company that is the first one providing the product to the market to be able to make as much money as possible. The other side of this is that in terms of fashion, cultural and religious beliefs do have a huge impact as well. So products and especially fashion needs to be adapted so that there are options for people with different religious beliefs and who live by different standards. So for example, recently more and more fashion shows and fashion collections are allowing a more broader audience for people to be able to buy their products, because they're creating alternatives which are more modest and can cover up more of the body, so that some religious groups would be able to wear them and still adhere to their strict beliefs and culture. So this information needs to be added on to your mind map, which is on in the middle of your page. If you have any other points, you can add them in as we go, but these are going to be our foundation points that we need to have on our mind map. Lovely. If you're still watching, then you have completed the first part. The next part is these images. So what do you think these images represent, and how does it affect designers? If you were talking about disabilities, then you have hit the nail on the head. Disabilities, both visible and invisible. So the pictures are obviously all images of physical disabilities that are easy to see and understand. There are also invisible disabilities, but I'll come to that a little bit later on. So designing products aimed at users with physical disabilities is something that is now becoming more common. Companies are designing products specifically for people with a specific physical disability. And that is so that they can provide a product that is useful and actually benefits someone's life. So it's about designing for people. We're always designing for people. We're not designing for an imaginary being. We're designing for specific people. And if your market are people who are in wheelchairs, your design needs to be able to help those people. And they should ensure that they can use the product easily. If they cannot use the product easily, or it does not enable them to complete a task that they need completed, then that product is not good. And you are not designing for your client, and you're not designing to fit with different groups of people. All of this can be kind of summarized in the idea of inclusive design. So instead of just pinpointing a specific group of people who have a very specific physical disability, inclusive design is all about designing products that can be used by anyone, or virtually anyone. Someone who's completely free of any disability, or people who have lots of complicated needs through visible or invisible disability. So it's about designing with the needs of all consumers in mind. You, me, people who are in wheelchairs, people who have amputations, people who have mental health issues, people who have dyslexia, dyspraxia, who are on the autism spectrum. It's about not singling out a specific group of people and designing for them, because that can lead to the people in those groups to feel segregated from the rest of the community and the rest of the culture. So inclusive design is about including everybody in our design so that it increases the usefulness of a product. And if your product is useful to a huge amount of people, then it widens your customer base, and yet that means you're going to sell more products and you're going to make more money. Designing is about helping people and making money. Those are our aims as designers and product designers. Get this information down your page and then press play when you've done that. Awesome. The next part is age. It is a substrata which is quite specific, but it does come with different influences in terms of designing. So if you are designing products that would appeal to older generations, you need to ensure that those designs and the products you make are beneficial to them and they can actually use it easily. So you're going to need to think about the fact that a large portion of older people have mobility issues, might not be able to use different things safely because they might not have as much grip or movement anymore. Tech literacy is a huge one, because they didn't grow up with the technology that you guys are growing up with, so they're less able to just pick up on those skills. And also the likes and dislikes of older generations. Every generation has their different traits and their different likes and dislikes. So those all have to be taken into account when designing products that could potentially appeal to older people, because if you don't think about these, then your product will not be bought by that group of people and you're going to be making a lot less money. Finally, I've touched on it earlier in terms of fashion and fashion trends, but religion is a huge influence across the world for different types of products. So if you're selling a product in England and the company wants to sell the same type of product in, let's say, China, for religious reasons, then you might have to change aspects of your design so that it is more appropriate for the Chinese market opposed to the one that you sell in England. So for example, different religious groups would need designers to adjust their designs or provide alternatives that sit in line with their specific beliefs. So for example, in some religions, you can't use symbols, you can't have images of faces, You can't have, in some Christian splinter sects, you can't have images of Jesus or God. So those things would have to be removed from the product, enable for it to be suitable for that different culture. Clothing requirements. So in lots of religions, there's different standards when it comes to dressing when you're outside of your home. So for some religions might want you to cover up your shoulders, to have more modesty, and to not have form-fitting clothes, to cover your hair. So if a fashion designer is creating a collection that they want to sell worldwide, they have to take that into account. They have to ensure that some of their designs cater to these different specific religious requirements. And also dietary restrictions. So if you're selling food products and you're going to sell it to an Islamic country, if you're creating a new ready meal for, I don't know, which is going to be delivered out to Pakistan, for example, you're going to need to ensure that you are using halal meat, and it ticks all the boxes in terms of their dietary requirements. And lots of religions have those different types of restrictions when it comes to what they can eat, what they can't eat, what they can eat at certain times of the year, so on and so forth. So all of these need to be considered so that your product sits in line with their religious view and what the way they live their life. So there's been a lot of information in this video, and if we distill it down to the core part of it, new technologies' impact on culture means that because we can easily live in the UK and sell products on the other side of the world, because we have got transport links, we've got ship freighters, we've got air freight, we've got rail networks which go virtually halfway around the world, we can transport products everywhere. For those products to be successful in England and in China and in North America and in Peru and in Russia and in India and in Australia, you have to think about the different values and beliefs, so the whole culture of that country, and what things you need to change about your designs in order for it to be suitable for the people who live there. So it's a huge part of modern day designing, is designing for different cultures and being fully inclusive. That's it from me. I'm going to stop waffling on. This was your first task for your prep this week. The other tasks for your prep will be on Show My Homework, so have a look back on Show My Homework, complete the other sections, and I look forward to seeing your work in our next lesson. Bye guys.